That's it, people. We're back. It's Steve. It's Jeff. It's the Steel Target Paid Podcast. Steve, how you doing tonight?
Good, Jeff. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Just got done with a little Monday practice and had a couple students I was also training, doing a little prep for the South Georgia match this coming weekend. How about you?
Oh, you're coming up for it, huh?
I am going to be there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I shot a couple rounds tonight, and then I realized, wow, it's been a while since I've done this.
Yes, it is. It is a learned skill and is it a diminishable skill?
Yeah.
Well, how are your average times doing there, Steve? How they compare to the peak times?
You know, right out of the gate, a little bit. Let's just say, we get back to the fundamentals, and then we glided right past the peak time, so it wasn't bad.
Well, our topic today is actually going to be talking about the peak times and actually the other three proposals that have been made by the director of Steel Challenge, Zach Jones, for changes in policies to Steel Challenge. And so I wanted to talk them and express to every one of our listeners a little information behind them, and to also let them know where they can find them and that they should get out there and read them. And if they have comments, to please make them. And if they want to, there's a voting opportunity, so you can vote on these and let your voice be heard and help the area directors make a decision as to whether or not the organization wants to have these changes made. So let's get right into that.
Yeah, let's walk through them.
So the first one is talking about the peak time stage changes, and what they've got here is that the results from the 2022 WSSC match were used. A division had to have at least 10 competitors for any kind of analysis to be done. From then, what was done was that all scores from 95 to 110% of the current peak time were used and averaged to come up with what the new proposed time should be for that division and that stage. And I think this is really important because, the GM classification does run from 95 to 100. And there are definitely people who can shoot faster than 100%. But when you start taking those people that are shooting faster than 110%, they can make a big difference into changing the numbers. And I give them all the credit in the world for being able to shoot that fast, but they're kind of like the curve breakers in, history class where, everybody got a C and this person got an A, and you took them out back and beat them up afterwards.
I like it.
And then there was one thing that was added this year that was very interesting, and that if less than 5 people shot a GM qualifying time for a division for a stage, then they're going to add 0.1 seconds to the current peak time.
Okay. Why would they do that?
And this is because it's to reflect what the current shooting community is doing in the divisions. Open would be a great example. There aren't a whole lot of people shooting open. There are some, but not a lot. And those that are shooting it,
it's because the peak times are too low, Jeff. That's why.
And that's why they're raising the peak times. Mm-hmm. So if we take open, for instance, it's actually for us. And now this is across all 8 stages. It's going from 84 to 84.52.
Okay.
So it is an adjustment. It's a small adjustment, but it's an adjustment to try to level where that time should be based on how people are shooting right now and what people are shooting right now. So a good example, let's go down the list alphabetically. Carry optics, that hasn't had a change since that division was adopted. And my understanding of that was because there was never enough data to make a decision as to whether or not changes should be made.
Okay.
With this new methodology, they're looking at it. So it's actually getting slightly faster, but there's actually some stages that are getting quote unquote slower. So a good example of that is 5 to go. 5 to go for carry optics used to be 11 seconds flat. The proposal has it moving to 11.1 seconds because there weren't 5 people at the WSSC who shot a GM time on 5 to go.
Interesting.
And, when you look at there were 40 competitors at the World Speed Shooting Championships, I think, or 40 plus in carry optics. So it's basically, from what I can tell, they're trying to normalize the times based on, again, who's shooting the divisions and how they're shooting them.
So what happens to rimfire rifle open as an example?
Rimfire rifle open. It is getting faster by 0.35 seconds.
Okay.
So it's currently at 68. It's going to go down to 67.65.
Okay.
And as I look at, based on the changes, and there's a couple other things in here that I think should be called out before we continue on this, is that if you noticed, it's no longer quarter second differentiation. It's actually going to be what the average says it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example. Smoke and Hope for PCCI, the peak time will now be 7.63 seconds. Well, if the proposal goes through. Please, I don't want to propose. I don't want to assume it's going through. Should the proposal go through, the peak time will be 7.63.
Okay.
So they're actually going to go down to the hundreds of seconds because we record in the hundreds of seconds. So I think that's something that gives us that perfect granularity. A couple of years ago, the changes had to be made in half-second intervals. And that's huge.
Right.
That's a lot. And so now the one thing that this proposal does state is that if a change, positive or negative, were less than 0.1 or a tenth of a second, then no change is administered. It's like we're close enough. Make sense?
Yep.
So actually, oddly enough, you want to take a guess at I gave you rimfire rifle. Which division will have the largest change?
Ooh.
Yes.
I'm gonna say, is it an obscure one? Probably not. PCCO.
Oh, so close. You were one letter off.
PCCI.
Yes.
Really?
PCCI. And I have a theory behind this. When I was looking at these numbers, I have a theory about this. The best of the best PCCI shooters, it's a small division to begin with, and the best are coming to making it to Worlds.
Got it.
And of course, if you were to go back and look at what a guy like Chris Barrett, who's like insane with the PCCI, I would bet most of his scores weren't even taken into consideration for the peak time stage changes, because he's probably shooting most of these stages over 110% of what the current peak is.
Oh, I'm sure.
So again, it's not taking anything away from Chris, but it is trying to be relatable to what, I don't want to say the average person, because the person who makes it to GM is an average, but we'll say the average GM is doing. How's that sound?
Fair.
Cool.
So what's the PCCI time?
So the PCCI is actually going to get faster by 1.34 seconds.
Okay.
That's the biggest change. Now, there's one other division that actually has more than a 1 second change, but of course, it's less than the 1.34. You want to take a guess at that one?
I'm gonna say
we know it's not rimfire rifle. I already go over those numbers.
rimfire pistol iron.
You know, pistol iron is only changing by 0.05 seconds.
It's because there's so many people that are shooting it.
I don't know.
That are grandmaster.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But the one, again, off by one letter.
Rimfire rifle iron.
No, wrong letter.
Oh. Rimfire pistol open?
Pistol open is changing by 1.14 seconds.
Really?
So there's a lot of people that are cranking it out. And, you know, it was funny because I was doing my own analysis. You know, everybody knows I'm kind of a data nerd, and was playing around with some of the numbers. And I tell you, this World Speed Shoot seemed to be the year that everybody figured out how to shoot speed option fast.
Speed option. I was shooting that just a little bit ago, Jeff.
Were you? Awesome.
I've ever done.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's a little bit on the peak times changes. And I will tell everyone too, if you decide not to make a comment, or you go back in, or you think of something and you don't know how to get a question answered, you can email Zach Jones at zach@uspsa.org with any questions. He will be more than happy to answer them to the best of his ability. So that is that. So the second proposal of 4, and I think this one is something that I don't know whether or not it's a perfect proposal, but I think it's something that was absolutely needed. And this is the World Speed Shooting Championships slot policy. So, Steve, do you know what it means to win a slot to Worlds?
I don't know, Jeff. Why don't you tell me?
Wait, there's more.
I don't know why that was so funny.
That was that was good. It's simple. It's the right to register early for the match. That's all it is.
All right, let's walk through the detail.
It's pretty simple. Okay. And again, I'm going to go over the highlights. You can definitely read deeper into it. There are 10 notes on here regarding it. But in effect, at the World Speed Shooting Championships and at an area match, for every 10 competitors in a division, they will give out 1 slot. So if there was 47 rimfire pistol open shooters at area 8, well, that would be 4 people. The top 4 people in the division would get a slot to Worlds.
Okay.
But that's not it.
Okay.
But you were going to ask a question, so I'm going to let you ask your question first.
Okay, so if I'm a boss and I go up to area 8 and I take first place from rimfire pistol open, rimfire rifle iron, rimfire rifle open, does that mean I get 4 slots or 3 slots?
Okay.
It was
Are you
going to be
saying you, Steve Foster, or are you saying someone who lives in area 8?
Great point, Jeff. Somebody that lives in area 8.
Okay, somebody who lives in area 8. And how many guns did you shoot?
3. And I'm all first place.
Then if there were 10 competitors in each of those divisions, regardless of whatever class they were in, just in the division, if there was at least 10 competitors and you took first, you would win 1 slot per unique gun shot.
Interesting.
Now here's the cool part, because you look at that and you go, well, geez, that's only going to be good. That's only doing something good for the top shooters, the GMs. But here's the next piece.
No, wait, Jeff. There's more. I mean,
There's
go
more.
ahead.
Every 5 competitors, when you look at a class, are considered. So let's just say we'll go back to our 47 shooters in rimfire pistol open. The top 4 get a slot. Then they'll look at the classes. Now, let's say they were only 3 GMs. Well, that 1 for every 5. So no more GMs are going to get an award. And let's say they were 6 masters. Well, that's 1. And let's say they were 15 A-class shooters. That's 3. So this is not, I've was talking to this about this policy with someone. They were like, well, it feels like it's geared and leans towards the elite shooters. And I started giving them this kind of example. Now, granted, it's an example that does have more non-GMs in the example, but when you look at a lot of the area matches, that's exactly what happens. You know, there's a lot less GMs and a lot more of the, you know, Bs, As, and masters.
Right.
Now, here's something that is very interesting. Let's just say, for instance, go back and there's 47 shooters. So we're going to give the top 4 in the division. And then there's 10 GMs. Well, that's 2 GMs. But wait a minute. You know, Tommy Smith
took first.
Tommy Smith took first, and he was also first GM.
Yes.
You can only win 1 slot per division shot, regardless
of class.
Right. Now, everything
Okay.
I just said about class also holds for category.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So now go through it again and you go, well, wait a minute. Okay. You got, 47 shooters, and now you start looking at categories, and there's 5 ladies. She might, I shouldn't say this, but let's just say, for sake of a argument, that top lady, wasn't in the top 4. So she didn't get a bid there. And she wasn't in a class that had enough shooters to give an award, but there were 5 other ladies in the match that shot that division. She earns a slot. So I think when you start looking at how many this has the potential for giving out, it's going to give out a lot of slots.
Yeah. Have you or anybody else done the math on all that? I know that not all, was there 8 areas are going to hold a area match.
Not all 8 areas are going to hold a match.
Not everybody that wins the slot's going to want to go either. I get
exactly.
That,
but the tough part is that, I know that when I talked to Zach about this, he told me that, he had gone in with some numbers, but even Zach was only able to get close. Like, the numbers he would take about the area matches would have been high. And the reason for that is, so here's the interesting thing. Let's say you go to area 8 and you live in area 6 and you shoot rimfire rifle open. And
yeah,
you come in, you are the 5th GM to shoot the match. There's 5 GMs.
Yeah.
And let's just say, for sake of argument, we'll live in a bizarro world. You come in 2nd. You don't win. I know it hurts, but
it cuts me deep.
You had a gun malfunction. Okay.
That didn't happen.
Your entry does count, even though you're not in the area, it does count to the total number of people shooting the match. You just can't win a match out. You can't win a slot outside of your area. So you would have made it possible for a slot to give away because you were the 5th GM. And if that first place shooter was a area 8 resident, they would get the slot.
All right, we need to probably walk back through that. Let's say, does the division take the precedent over the class?
The division. Okay, so the answer is there's 3 ways you can win a slot at an area match. You can win it because of the division, you can win it because of the class, or you can win it because of the category. As soon as you win it, you're not eligible to win the others. So you could look at it and go, okay, first they'll pick division, then they'll pick class, then they'll pick senior, but it does or category. It doesn't really matter which ones you don't get. You only get one. No, but it does not drop. Like say for instance, if Freddie, how can I do this? Okay, back to our example: 47 RFPOs. Tommy won, and then when they got to the categories, the second place, Tommy wouldn't get it, or the class. Tommy wouldn't get his class award because he got it from the division. Second place, it doesn't then default to second place, if you know what I mean.
Well, let me ask you this way. Let's say there's 10 people that shoot rimfire rifle open, and 9 people are out of the area, and the 10th person is in the area. Does the 10th person automatically get that spot?
Only if they win. Only if they win.
So if I'm top, like same example, but top 2, and there's only 10, and I go to area 8 and I win rimfire rifle open, and there's another grandmaster. I guess it doesn't really matter what their classification is. They come in second, but they're in that area. They don't get the slot. Is what you're saying?
Well, if it was category based and there was 10, then 2 slots would be given away. They came in second, they would get it.
Got it. So it doesn't.
But third place doesn't get it.
No, understood. Okay. That's interesting.
So look at it this way. In the pre-calculation, you earned the slot because there were enough people in the division to give out a slot. The problem was you weren't from that area, so that was then removed. But it doesn't, the logic right now doesn't have it trickling down in the current proposal.
Got it. So who's going to keep track and do all this analysis?
Headquarters.
Whew, more power to them. And then
I'll be honest with you, it's not as hard as you think. You can almost do it in Excel.
Oh, I'm sure you'd have to do it in Excel.
Well, you'd really want to do it in a database, but that's what that's what I do for a living. I'm a database nerd. So no,
that's pretty interesting though. Not that you're a database nerd. I got that part, but
that's boring. The thing that they've got, this is slightly based on, not exactly based, but conceptually based the same way they do the slot policies for USPSA. So the concept is there. The toughest part, like I said, that Zach wasn't able to do, because I asked him this directly. I said, well, great. What happened in this area? He's like, well, I can give you what the worst case scenario would be if everyone who won was from the area. But I think the goal is to give out about somewhere between, I would think, maybe 50 or 60% of the registration slots awarded through the slot policy.
Now, how will understand, because I'm doing the math again. There's some areas that aren't holding area matches this year, but yeah, man, that's
it's unfortunate.
I was thinking, yeah, my gut feel was a couple hundred people could pre-register. So let's say there's 150 people that are eligible to pre-register. Still, what order do they go in? Do you know? Because they're still
they're pre-registered, so there's you get your code. You've got. I mean, if I guess it would.
You know what I'm asking?
Well, I think you're asking to say, how much is it going to fill up on the weekends?
Oh, it's going to be most of the weekend.
I would think so. I would think that most would be registering to shoot on the weekends.
Yep.
But not all. And there are ROs that won slots that won't need them. There are people who have. So now I think the one thing that's not on here, yes, it is. You know how we were talking about how if you win a division, then you can't win it in the category and you can't win in the class, right?
Yeah.
There's one extra caveat with regards to the World Speed Shooting Championships.
Talk to me.
Super Squad.
Mm-hmm.
If you are awarded a Super Squad slot, you can choose to accept it or you can choose to deny it.
Yeah.
But more than likely, and we'll use our friend Kenny out in California because he's a perfect example. He won RFPO. That earned him a Super Squad slot. Top 10 in the division.
Sure.
There were, I don't know how many in the division, but there were more than 10. Actually, I take that back. He was top 10 in the match because it's actually the Super Squad is based on the rimfire pistol match.
Right.
Okay. So that includes pistol iron. So he was top 10 there. He gets the Super Squad slot. Then he wins the division. He gets the division. He earns a division slot. He was the number 1 GM. He wins a GM slot. He's the number 1 junior and he wins the junior slot, but he doesn't. He gets the choice to be on the Super Squad or not. And that's it. If he denies the Super Squad, which he is more in his right to do, those other slots don't exist. That's not how it works. So you get awarded the best slot, you get awarded that Super Squad slot. That's your ability to get registered early for the match. And of course, that does mean shooting on that specific day, on that specific squad with that specific gun.
Right.
Now, all the other slots, if you won a slot in open and your open gun broke 3 months before, your open gun broke right before pre-registration was opened up, and you said, there's no way I'm going to get this fixed in time, you can still sign up for any of the other divisions. You don't have to use the slot for the division you wanted it.
That's interesting.
And the reason for that is because I'll use myself as an example. I won a slot for winning senior in rimfire pistol open. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to area 6.
Mm-hmm.
If I win, if there's enough people to qualify for a slot, should the policy pass based on how this is termed, I would win another slot if I were to, do that at Area 6 for Rimfire Pistol Open.
Sure.
So now I have a slot I won at Worlds and I have a slot I won at Area Match. I have the right to use both of those slots. Now, you step back and you go, well, wait a minute. You can only register in one division at World Speed Shooting Championships. So this is why they allowed you to use it for any gun you want to shoot.
Right.
Of course, except for the super squads. You have to shoot a gun of that match. So if you made the super squad because you're shooting open, and on the super squad this year you want to shoot carry optics, that's fine.
Interesting.
It's because the super squad is for the center fire match.
Yep. Understood.
And there's a couple other intricacies in here. I suggest everyone, again, go to scsa.org/proposals and read them. And please, make comments. And again, if you have any questions, send them to Zach@uspsa.org. So the third one's going to be quick.
Yep. Go ahead.
So do you know that if you shot single stack, the last time you shot single stack, let's do this. The last time you shot iron sight revolver, because I think you shot it once.
Oh, it's yeah.
Okay.
But 3 years ago?
Yeah, the last
February
time you shot,
of 20?
Exactly. No, that's perfect.
Is it?
It's I don't know, but let's just say it's that. The current logic behind what scores are used to calculate your current percentage is the times of the current year plus the previous 2 years. So we're into 2022. So let's just, as an example, you say you shot that in December of 19. Those scores have dropped off to be able to be used for your percentage calculation. It's confused a lot of people. And, I cut my teeth in USPSA and they never drop anything. So I think this proposal is to kind of go into that and say, listen, you shot it, you earned it. Doesn't matter how many years ago it was. That was your best time. That's what we're going to use to calculate your percentage.
Got it.
But it does kind of tie in to the next one, which I personally think is the best proposal out of the 4 of them. I actually like them all. But if somebody were to say, what's the best proposal on the list, it would be this one. And that's selective reclassification.
I like it.
And this is where, over the years, the peak times have changed. And let's face it, a couple of years ago, for a couple of divisions, the changes were cutthroat. They were brutal. But they didn't change anything else. So you had people who were about to make GM, and then the peak times changed, and now they were an 84% master. And you went, wait a minute, they just went from they were almost a 94%. They were a 94% master, and now they're an 84% master. Based on where you were and based on how the changes happened in the divisions, I know for a fact this has happened to some people. And so what this allows the member to do is to say, well, my percentage is lower than the percentage for that classification that I'm currently classed at. I would like to selectively move down to the classification that my percentage represents. Now, I don't know about you, but the best part about this is the fact that they're allowing it to be selective. It is not forced. So I'll give you a good example. I'll go back to me. A couple of years ago, I shot rimfire pistol iron, ended up like a 95.2% GM. Excited to get the GM. The next year, the numbers changed, and I was a 93% GM. If that same situation were to happen right now, and I chose to want to go to a master, I could. But if I choose to say, hey, I was a GM, I earned that GM, I want to stay a GM, then I get that opportunity to do that by doing nothing. So that's why I like this one the best, because it's an opportunity for those to change their class if the numbers warrant it, if they choose to. And if you don't, if you want to be a 93% GM, then you may be a 93% GM. What do you think?
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
I think it's one that really, as I went through these myself, I kind of thought to myself, well, how can I play devil's advocate and come up with a reason why I don't like the change? For this one, I couldn't come up with one. I couldn't come up with one. Even if it was somebody complaining about somebody else doing it. Well, Fred and I are both 94% grandmasters, but he's now going to be a master, and I'm not moving because I want to keep my GM. And I'm like, I would be like, okay,
yeah.
Well, that's not fair. He gets to compete in master level now too. Well, you can do that too, but I don't want to lose my again, you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah, for sure.
But
there's also real life situations where, I know somebody that's had an industrial accident and cannot shoot at the same level that they once were. I think this is a great opportunity for that. And then the other thing is, I think from the speed of the game, we've talked about ad nauseum how much faster the last couple of years have been. I mean, you go back 5-6 years ago, you don't recognize the game today. It's just, hats off to Lance Bratcher Jr. this past weekend. He shot a 55 or something up in the East Coast match.
Yeah.
Congratulations, sir. 55s a couple of years ago, even 2 years ago,
unheard of.
Yeah, it was the place to be.
It was it was a unicorn. It was a unicorn score.
Yeah. Yep.
People were. I've shot. I was fortunate enough in 18 or 19, I forget when. But at US Steel, I ended up third in PCC overall.
Yeah.
Behind Casey and Cole Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And we joked about the fact that, like, my score would have won like the match the 3 years prior. And now my score doesn't make like top 20.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just amazing what people have been able to do with these divisions, and how fast they're getting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And, and they've just taken those divisions to a whole new level. Honestly, what does Chris shoot in PCCI? He's in the 60s, isn't he? Did he make it to the 60s yet?
Oh no, I'm sure he has.
Yeah.
I'd have to pull it up real quick, but I thought he was like right at 60, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you know. And yes, it's a rifle, but it's an iron sight rifle. Come on, I mean,
Exactly. There's some old eyes looking down them sights, Jeff.
oh, I've got to
Oh,
I have to wipe the dust off my eyelids before I shoot, let alone like clearing the dust off the gun.
hey, speaking of Chris Barrett, man, that kid lit it up at the Georgia section match. USPSA took first place
Yes, he
in
did.
PCC, and then this past weekend, North Carolina took them all down. Jeff, all of them,
Yep.
not a single one standing. So congratulations, Chris.
No, he's definitely one of those that have been able to cross over and shoot both sports at a very high level.
Yeah,
You don't see that a lot, and couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. I like Chris. Always enjoyed shooting with him and hanging out with him, and I'm very very happy for him.
Yeah.
So let's just see here. I just
awesome.
happened to. Oh, that's not him. Okay. Well, I went to the organization and I was trying to find Chris, and I clicked on one and there were no scores. So there must be more than one. There he is. Canton, Georgia. Is that him?
Yes, sir.
All right.
He's up by that way.
So let's just look here. Okay. So this is sick. Now, this is his peak times.
His peak times? Let me guess. I'm going to say
the sum of his peak times. Guess what the sum of his peak times in PCC iron is?
53.
52.29.
Yep, absolutely.
Now,
kick and roll, son.
Now, here's the real takeaway. Okay. 6 of these top times were set at a WSSC championship.
That's crazy, right?
1 in 2020, 1 in 2021, and 4 in 2022. He set 4 PBs at the last World Speed Shooting Championships in PCC Iron.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, and to get this, his PCCO is literally only about 1 second faster.
Yep. That's blazing fast.
He's faster in his PCCI than he is in his RFRI.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
But it's funny. I was talking with a number of the students that I have, and they range from 12 to 72. And when you really break down this game, it's all about one thing. It's how fast can you move the gun? Because how fast you pull the trigger is, I mean, it's not like USPSA where your splits can make a difference in how well you do. I mean, there are no splits, but I mean, there is a split, but you've also got this moving of the gun. So if you can pull the trigger at a 0.1 split or a 0.12 split, but you can't move the gun that fast, the fact that you can pull the trigger that fast is irrelevant. See where I'm going there?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you agree with it?
Yeah, I think you got to be able to. I think part of it is not necessarily just pulling the trigger faster; it's being able to process that information.
Bingo.
Quick, and then being able to pull the trigger.
And that's everybody says the kids have great eyes. And I say to them, I'm like,
they may, but it's their ability to process the information.
Yes. Yep. How fast you see something is dependent upon one universal constant for everyone. And it's the speed of light.
I was thinking age.
No, but that's how fast you process. That's how fast you process it.
Yep.
Okay. you know, and that's, I mean, yeah. And of course, you know, then you add in, you know, just, you know, young muscles that move fast, recover fast, don't tire. I mean, I can remember, you know, growing up when I was in college and, you know, you'd play a volleyball tournament all day on Saturday, all day on Sunday, and, you know, go for a run on Monday and feel no pain, you know.
I hurt thinking about that now, Jeff.
When I bend over and pick up a tissue when I throw my back out.
Oh, my poor wife.
Oh,
Tore-
yeah. Do you
she-
want to,
yeah,
share what happened
Oh,
to Teresa?
you know, it's one of these things. People say, "Man, you guys have had a rough year, a couple of hospital stays, and this and that." And it's like, what else could go wrong? My wife tore her calf muscle playing tennis last night, Jeff.
Mm.
Calf muscle. Oh, that just, oh, that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal.
Well, on bad deals, I would like you to let our listening audience know about something that happened over the weekend that is very sad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I got a call from Amanda with Hogue, and man, it's a bad situation. So everybody knows Hogue, the legendary family, makes knives and grips, and they've been around for a long time. They do a lot for the shooting community. They donate back and they really give back to the sport. And unfortunately, Aaron Hogue was flying a jet in a race in Reno yesterday, and not sure what happened, but his plane went down, and yeah, unfortunately, he did not survive. So yeah, please be thinking about the Hogue family and put them in your thoughts and your prayers.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Steve. And yes, listeners, just, you know, put the Hogue family in your thoughts, and, you know, just hope they can weather this this tough time, because that is tragic news. Okay. Well, Steve, I think this was a good one. I think we got good information out, and that's what we're about.
Sounds good, Jeff. And one more time, let's go back through. Where do I, because I logged into scsa.org. How can I let people know about these changes and what I think about them?
So go to scsa.org/proposals.
Oh, so when I logged in initially, there was a list of, hang on, where to go? Went to my profile, and then, okay, so if you go there, scsa.org, you'll log in, click on your profile. There's announcements that are up, the 2022 Steel Challenge proposals, and they come right up.
There you go.
It's got you a link there, a little hyperlink, and you can view it and comment on the proposal. Let me see, comment, selected reclassification. Does it give everybody else's comment or just your comment?
You do not get to see the other people's comments. No, I think
What?
the org would get that. This is not a forum.
That's too bad.
Let's just stop and think about that for a second. You know, somebody wants to be able to give their honest opinion, and they don't like something for whatever reason, and that is their right. And then suddenly that's open fodder for everyone, and they're suddenly a pariah at the next match because they didn't like one of the proposals. You know, they don't want that to happen.
All right. Well, you got to go in and view them before you can comment on them.
Yes,
apparently.
you have to view them. So please do that. Please read them. As I said, you know, we talked about the PST adjustments, and the especially in the slot policy. They have some deeper notes. We didn't go over all of them. That'll answer any of your questions. You know, what matches count, what the numbers are, and, you know, what logic may be used for the PST. And you know, I'm not going to give anybody, you know, I think everybody should make their own opinion, but I think everybody has the right to make that opinion. So read the proposals and vote. And this will help the board make a decision as to whether or not these policy changes should be incorporated in the new year.
Got it. And one tip, because I just went through it. There's a section that says, let's say, Let me go back into it because there's a little bit of a bug, I think. So I went to the last one. I went to view proposal. So it comes up. Then with it open, you have to go back and then click comment. If you close it to go back, it doesn't let you comment on it.
Ah, there you go.
So anyway,
All right.
logged in as Jeff Jones. Okay, let me see what.
This is stupid. This is a stupid proposal. I can't believe you suggested this. And you know
Well,
what I would recommend? Like them or dislike them. But more importantly, if you dislike them, I think give Zach and the board, why you dislike them. I think that'll help in the future, because if enough people give something like that, that might be a way to refine what the policy changes might be for the future. So if there's something you don't like, which is your right, I think if you can provide that feedback, but then also say, here's why. Okay.
yep.
All right,
Sounds good.
Steve. Thanks, man.
All right, Jeff. Take care, man.
You have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye-bye.